JR, easy. I know those words come from your heart.
I promised Kelly I wasn't going to cry. That girl hit pretty hard. Hit pretty hard.
I'm going to do this. First, there's something I do want to do that has nothing to do with while we're up here. I want to thank Corey. I want to thank Kelly Perry, Chris and Kurt Steven. I don't think there's a lot of work that goes into this, and a lot of headaches that come along with it. And trust me, if I left somebody out, it was unintentional, but I know how hard those four work. I want to thank all of you for being here tonight. Denney and I came to a lot of these. Too many to remember, but every single one they've had since it started, this tradition started years ago. I love our auctioneer. I don't know him by name, but I know his voice. If I was walking down a crowded street and I heard that man talk, I remember that voice. All these auctions here. Isn't he awesome? But what I wanted to share with you tonight, is that Denney and I didn't get to know Paul Hansen. I didn't have that honor to meet him, but of course Denney and I knew Abe Lemons real well. Abe was such a character, and in some regards, so was Denney. I think we all are as coaches from time to time. But I want to share a quick story. Is leaving Abe, for me personally, out of this discussion, other than his name, Paul Hansen is the founders this award's named after. I remember one time Abe was all excited. He was talking to Denney and I. And, you always wondered when that line was going to bounce in there, when he was going to throw you the punch line and make you laugh. And he goes, "You know what, Keith? I used to coach baseball." I was like, "Really?" He goes, "Yeah." It surprised me. I was like, Abe Lemons, legend, Abe Lemons. Baseball, so a lot of basketball coaches different sports, but he goes, yeah, he goes, I honestly thought I really loved baseball more than basketball. I wanted to be a baseball coach. And I said, what changed your mind? He goes, well, Keith, you got to remember back in those days, they didn't have a 10-run rule. He goes, when you started that game, if you were getting your tail kicked, you had to finish all 9 innings. He goes, at least in basketball, the clock is going to run out sooner or later. And Abe swears to that. He swore that was a big reason why I became a basketball coach. But I know Denney and I embraced him so much and loved what he stood for, and it's an honor to be up here speaking on behalf of Denney. But as Corey mentioned earlier, we fully expect Denney to be here tonight to accept his award. Corey got a little ahead of me, and I understand because he's the one that propositioned Denney to take this award. But after he talked to Corey that day, what Corey doesn't know is he came back over to the office and he told me, "You're never going to believe what they want me to do." He told me about Corey offering to have him honored with this award, and he goes, "Keith, what do you think?" As soon as the ultimate voice. I think Denney and I have spent more time together over 34 years. Robin, 28, 22. And he looked at me and he goes, I said, "Well, that's awesome." And he goes, "Think so?" He goes, "Really?" And I said, "Denney, I know you. You think you don't deserve this. You think there's somebody else out there that deserves it more than you do. And I have to put this on the plate, Denney, because with Denney, you didn't toy around with him." I said, "You better not be thinking the only reason why you're getting this award is because of the circumstances you're in." One of those pity party things, because that's what anybody in here that knows Denney Crabaugh ain't about that. And he looked at me and I said, "Denney, you've earned this. I've been through all those other recipients and there's none more deserving than you. If you're alumni," thank you. "I want you to do me a favor. JR mentioned the Crabaugh family. You know what my heart is with you because you're my second born. Rita, you're still my Oklahoma mom. Always will be. But not to neglect you guys, because I love, we spend time on the phone, we get to talk and stuff. If you're an alumni sitting out there, please stand up right now. Stand up. Grant, get up. All you alumni, stand up. Jack Pugh, Jack, stand, please. Stay up. I want every one of you guys to know something. But you talk about honored. Denney's sitting up in heaven right now, and he's so proud of you guys being here today.
share this with him because anything that happened in Denny's life revolved around you. Know that. Okay, relax.
This award was designated or designed for athletic excellence. Now, Denney would kill me. I don't like people, Denney was like me. We don't like to talk about personal achievements and numbers and all that stuff. But I am going to share this with you. If you want some sports excellence, 1,601 wins, 34 years. 1,601 wins. That's pretty amazing. But notice, I didn't tell you how many losses he had. You know why? Tell him why. Anybody know? That was mine. I mean, I have to share that with you guys. I know I've done it several times, but I laughed every time Denney would tell somebody, or somebody would congratulate him after his 1,000th win, after his 1,200th win, and he'd go, yeah, I'd have a whole lot more if Keith didn't have 462 losses. And it was awesome. It was something that we shared together. 14 World Series appearances. 14 in 34 years. Here's the deal. You guys don't know this, but our guys do. We're the second, Rich, I know you're out there somewhere. I hope this still holds true. But we're the second most, we have appeared at the World Series the second most times in the history of NAI. But what people don't know is the team that hosted was not taking anything away from them. They're awful good. They won a lot of national championships, but they host the World Series. They could go winless on the season. They get an automatic bid for the World Series. We had every damn one of those 14 World Series appearances. I'm proud of that. Derek Snell's sitting over there. I don't want to miss this guy sitting in there. I'm sure part of that 2005 national championship. The coolest day, 2005, that I've ever spent with Denney in the uniform was that night we won that World Series. I couldn't get to my feet. Folks, you can't understand this. I sat there for 3 years, and we made it to the national championship game, and we lost. My mother kept telling me, God has a reason for everything, and I was like, oh God. I felt like the Buffalo Bills. But the bottom line is, we got back there that fourth year and got to that national championship game, and the final out was registered. A lot of you have heard this story before. It was my favorite moment with Denney because I tried to jump up and run out and charge the field like the players did and be a part of that dog pound and all that stuff. I'd be dadgummit, I got up and my legs just wouldn't hold me. I sat back down. I was so overwhelmed, and I'm not lying to you. And I was sitting there staring at the ground, and there was a little white spot of paint. I still remember this, right between my feet. And I kept staring at it going, we did it. All of a sudden, I saw these 2 big feet between mine. And I looked up, and it was Denney. He goes, what the hell are you doing? I was like, Denney, we finally did it. And I said, but I can't get up. He reached down, and he grabbed me. I could have a show of hands in here. Every one of these guys have experienced a Denney Crabaugh bear hug. He reached down and picked me up, and I thought he broke me in 2. And we walked out to that dog pile together. I still have an awesome picture in my office. My favorite moment with Denney. The sense of accomplishment that came with that moment. With his arm around me, and I'm literally leaning on him because I couldn't walk. I was so overwhelmed. To share with him, pretty special. We've had 150 players drafted. 150 players drafted and or signed out of our program. We had 14 conference championships, 91 All-Americans. Corey mentioned a little while ago. Cross Factor, Peyton, Crispin are here tonight. Last year they were both first-team All-American. So was Eli Davis, second team. 85. This was Denney's baby. 85 academic All-Americans. Eight National Players of the Year. Cross Factor did that last year. And folks, I'm telling you what, of all the years I've coached baseball, been around the game, I've never seen a college player do more than that kid did in one season. Arguably the greatest year of all time under Denney's leadership. 5 players who reached the big leagues. Made it to the pinnacle of the game. 5 players out of our little program. OCU. Made it to the big leagues. One of them won a batting championship in 2006. Won the National League batting championship. Beat out Miguel Cabrera that last day of the season to win that championship. Made 3 All-Star teams in the National League, and he won 3 World Series rings from OCU. That was Freddie Sanchez, by the way. All right, I'm getting to the end of this, and you're going to understand why. Denney has been inducted into 4 Hall of Fames: OCU, Oklahoma Coaches Association, NAI Hall of Fame, and the ABCA, which is the big one, right, Sue? I remember that down in, I think that was in Tennessee. We went to that. That was cool. 4 Hall of Fames. 2-time National Coach of the Year, and I'll leave off all the records because I didn't even write them down. There's so many records that are national records that OCU holds, and some of them cannot be broken anymore with the lack of games that you're allowed to play. I think I think you would all agree that that's a pretty amazing resume. But here's what I want to talk to you about real quick. Believe that, maybe? I truly believe that Denney's greatest accomplishments, because he would hate that I just did what I did. Denney's greatest accomplishments by far are within the hearts of each and every one of us that had the opportunity to be a part of him. In our hearts, that's his greatest accomplishment. The mark he left on any of us is amazing. And I know I need to hurry here, so I'm going to cut through this real quick because I need to share something with you. Denney and I shared a lot of things in common. We were completely indifferent from one another in a lot of other ways. You ask the players, he was a good bad cop. I was a good cop. Until I got really, really mad. And then Denney would save my job because not losing your job today. Calm down, okay? Don't worry, Cody. I'll be fine. But here's the deal. We had a lot of things in common. We both loved our family. Deeply, deeply. We both came from families like Frida and Denney Crabaugh and my mother, Rose and Jack Lytle, who raised us right. Therefore, he raised his family right. We loved our family. We loved baseball. We loved our kids, our players. They were our family. Any one of those guys will tell you that we treated them like our sons. They were. We loved fishing. Okay, I'm running out. The last thing that Denney and I shared in common, there's probably a couple of other good things. We both like music. I know that about me. I don't even know if his own kids realized how much, but Denney would sit in his office and put that radio on, and I'd catch him jamming in there, especially if a Led Zeppelin song come on. Look out, all right? It was on. Catch Denney in there rocking away, and it's like so out of nature, but that was Denney. The alumni will remember there was times out on the baseball field, if we had the PA system going during batting practice, and a song came out that Denney really liked, oh, the challenge was on. Matt Houston, I bet you can't tell me who plays this song. You can't tell me who's named this band, so on and so forth. And the guys would get all wrapped up in it. They were like, I'm going to figure this out. We would only let them listen to classic rock. There was no headbanging hard rock stuff. There wasn't any rap music, none of that stuff. We'd let them listen to country. We would listen to it anyway. But they were so far removed from our era of music. That's baseball music. But they would try their butts off. They very rarely ever got it, though. But I love that about Denney. Well, I like music, too. We both played the guitar a little bit. We embarrassed ourselves now and then. But here's the deal. After Denney passed, music didn't have the same. It took a while. One day I was driving to work a couple of weeks after Denney died, and I just happened to turn the radio on. I don't know why. I hadn't had it on. You really want to hear music? The song came on. Sorry. This song came on. I was on a country channel. And if you guys are familiar with country, you know that Travis is a pretty awesome dude. And I love one of his songs. I always have. Three Wooden Crosses. I mean, you know that song. That song came on, and of course, I hadn't heard it in a long time. And for the first time in a while, it lifted me. And I started singing. And I was singing that song driving down the road. Teacher, and preaching. And I'm singing. And all of a sudden, sorry about my voice, all right? So all of a sudden, it gets to that part. It gets to that part where it says, it's not what you take. And we leave this world behind us. It's what we leave behind us when you go. Lost it. That moment that I realized that Denney Crabaugh, although not monetarily wealthy, neither him or I live in this big mansion. We don't have fancy cars and all this other stuff. And I realized for the first time in my life just how rich Crabaugh was. What he left behind in this beautiful family. That I've seen the reflection of Denney in every one of the kids. But I see the admiration too. Mike Judd, I know how much you and Landon, Ted, you guys have embraced your father-in-law, what he meant to you. But that has to be earned, and Denney had a way of doing that with you. If you spend an hour with Denney, you learn to appreciate. You learn after more time with Denney how to love him. And he left behind one hell of a family that has so deep-rooted love. He left behind a brother that misses him really. What he gave to you guys is priceless. The lessons of life that he left with you, it's been so overwhelming the last few months listening to you guys talk. Brett Stevens was up. Brett, I don't know if I'm supposed to divulge this, but I'll put it to you that he's mad. And the Oklahoma State Troopers runs a task force. He's ahead of all that stuff. You don't want to mess with him, okay? I invited him up to talk to our team the other day, and this is just one example of many. He was talking to the team. I couldn't wait for it. I knew it was coming because if you talk to any alumni, they'll give you their favorite Denney story or lesson that he taught. And some of them will be the same, some of them will be different. His lines are perfect. Denney would never, they're never going to put anything I ever said on him. Winning doesn't suck. They're not going to, because mine were really morbid. Denney would say, where in the heck do you come up with this stuff? But it worked. But I remember when he used to tell the guys, my favorite one, we were down the road, the team in the van or in the bus, and go by, or we'd be somewhere, and they go, oh, man, look at her, she's hot. He'd say, oh, hey, that's somebody's daughter. You know the best part about that? Obviously, he had 3 daughters. What is he going to say? But what's so cool now is we got so many alumni that have daughters now. They get it. They get it now. But Brett was talking to the guys, and it was so cool the other day because he told a story about the biggest lesson Denney taught him was next man up. Next man up. You guys remember that? Along with smell that and all the other stuff they used to say all the time. So with the Eagles. Next man up. Brett used to talk. Brett told our team, that's how you guys got to treat each other. When my turn comes around, it's to get us to the next guy. Do my job so the next guy can do his. Baseball, basketball, football, that's what it was all about. You go out, you play for each other. It's a team sport. Denney was so good at preaching that. And I love that, the lessons that you guys got. I know after I finish, I know I've went too long. This is the second time I've been asked to talk, and it's an honor about Denney, but there are no words I could ever put down on a piece of paper or say to you that are ever going to do truly the fullest justice to the man that Denney Crabaugh was and is and will remain to be, and the lessons that we carry on. See, we keep him alive every day. When we think of him, we act upon what he taught us, myself included, my son, who's sitting over there that I know learned immense lessons from Denney. So that being said, at this point in time, will you please join me in welcoming Cody Crabaugh up to the stage and accepting this award.